Hi, good people, and welcome to Life Coach 254. I'm your host. My name is Annette White, and I am joined by two wonderful gentlemen. I would like for them to introduce themselves.
I'm Hari Rito. Excited for season 3, and we're excited to have our guest today.
Thank you.
Mr. Bo Frederiksen.
Thank you, Annette. Thank you, Harry, for inviting me to your beautiful show.
Karibu sana.
I'm just a humble visitor of Kenya 254. So happy to be here. I will tell you more about myself if you are interested. Harry, you just ask me away. I'm an open book.
Cool.
We are happy to have you, and it's going to be an exciting episode. We're going to learn a lot about life here, life in the diaspora, business, money, love life, all that. So keep it tuned. We are on episode 3 of season 3.
Bo, we're excited to have you here. First of all, I'm glad you just came back from Sweden, Luxembourg.
Sweden and Luxembourg, yes.
Yeah, cool. And so we'd want to know, tell us something about yourself. Tell us about yourself in terms of passion, career-wise, family. Tell us about you.
I have warned Harry not to ask this question because I can talk forever. So if I talk too much, you just have to, cut me off. You show the sign. So I am a very old man. I've been coming to Kenya the last 5-6 years. Been very warmly welcomed. Before that, I grew up in a 1,000 people village. I left home when I was 18, and as soon as I could, probably. I had a good childhood though, but I left with my girlfriend.
Yes.
Had my first girlfriend when I was 13. She was 14. We dated. I understand dating is a subject today. We dated for 3 years before we had the first actual sexual encounter.
Oh.
And as it is in Europe, her mom took her to the doctor and she got the pill back in the days, So we dated for 10 years and
Wow.
I got my temptations along the way. She got hers, and we split up at the age of 23 for my part.
Mm-hmm.
And then I dated another lady, and I dated another lady. I was married for 16 years. I got a divorce. I have 2 beautiful kids. Working-wise, I've been everything you can dream of. I cleaned on the cars, I've been on the school bus taking care of the small kids, not killing each other. I've been a banker, I've been a private banker, I've been a chef.
How many years as a banker?
Banker, I was for 26, 28 years.
Wow.
And that was first in normal banking, and then it became private banking. That's where the bigger money was. So
high net worth individuals.
Yes, that's what it's called officially.
HNI.
So Kenyatta and stuff like that.
Yeah.
No, I left my home country being Denmark. I left Denmark when I was 23 and worked 30 years in Luxembourg.
Uh-huh.
Now you can guess I'm over 50.
Mm-hmm.
So
couldn't.
And Luxembourg being a financial center, it was about banking. Yes.
Oh, cool.
So that's now, and now I am semi-retired. I work now and then as a chef in Sweden and Denmark or in Luxembourg, or anybody who needs my services. I can cook for 2 people, you and I, or I can cook for 80 people. So, bigger crowd, I will cook for you guys.
Cool. So how do you compare the experience career-wise between the diaspora and like working in Kenya? To do a comparative analysis.
So I'm not really working in Kenya, but I did help a guy opening a very fantastic hospitality, what do you call it, franchise, venture, yeah. And that was actually the most fun I ever had in my life, dealing with young people, training them in how to know about wine. I do happen to have drunk a lot of wine in my life, and I know a lot about wine. I'm not saying I'm the guy who knows the most about wine in Kenya, but I am up there. So I train young people in hospitality voluntarily, and that's been a big pleasure. Banking is pretty boring, you earn a buck and it's a good salary, but as you might know, Harry, because I have met you before,
yes.
I'm an artistic person.
Yes, a lot.
So music, food, dealing with people is much more fun than just being a banker. Nobody ever applauded when I left the bank, Nobody applauded when I went home from work. But cooking for 60 or 20 people, people actually applaud when I go home.
Oh.
And I don't think it's because I go home. I think it's because they like the food.
I remember when I was in private banking myself, and the pressure and the shifting goalposts in terms of targets and how crazy it can get.
I know we're supposed to talk about Kenya as well, but that, from my experience, comes from a small town. Leaving for a bigger town of 8,000 people, when I had my first banking job, coming to Luxembourg, it was like this. Everybody was looking at their career. So it was very career driven in Luxembourg. I guess many businesses and many jobs are like that, but especially banking was pretty tough.
Wow, it was tough there as well.
I had never seen that before. I was scared of talking to people. I was scared of raising my voice. I was scared of entertaining 30 people, 200 people, 300 people talking about banking. It was never my thing, but I did it, and I learned probably from that experience to talk to people. So I'm not so shy anymore.
So it was a good thing.
It was a good thing in the end.
Yeah.
So,
but I don't know how it is to work in Kenya. I don't know how the banking culture is in Kenya.
of course,
As a young man.
it's definitely not as robust as it is in the diaspora, but you can imagine the pressure is as high if you'd look at it that way.
Targets.
And the targets, and also not a lot of money running around. So definitely you have to tailor-make the product, the accounts, the mortgages, the savings accounts, and all this products around it to fit a certain profit range. And of course, for the bank to be a going concern, of course, is a lot of strategizing, growing, and the pressure comes to you as a private banker, and so it never gets easier.
But young guys out there, there's no easy way to earn money in life.
Yeah.
I can tell you, being a chef in a restaurant is one of the hardest. I have the highest respect for people in Kenya and people all over the world who works as a chef. In the summer it's 40 degrees and there's all these tickets you have to fulfill. Chef is not the easiest way to earn money, but it's an interesting job.
And it's art.
And it's art. There are also some chefs that does not consider it art, but it should be art. Yes, it should.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of making people happy and exceeding people's expectations, and that's no matter what you do in life. Exceed customers or clients' expectations. And that's maybe something to bring on to you guys out there.
So I know you've been in like over 38 different countries in the world. Of course, Germany, you've been in it like 50 times, 70 times in and out. But basically, generally, when you look at the different countries you've been in, the 38 countries or so, how does the culture compare to the 254?
I have some things I need to say before I forget it.
Yes.
So I was privileged to grow up in Denmark and Luxembourg, with apparently very rich countries, especially compared to countries in Africa. But my parents were having an apartment in Spain, so every summer day was to be spent in Spain.
What was happening in Spain?
They have an apartment, they have a flat, so we always came to Spain for our holidays. So I learned to speak a little bit Spanish, and then of course you went to Germany and you went to all the Central European countries. So I was privileged in that respect, for sure. How does the companies compare? They are very different, very different. When I used to work in Luxembourg, I actually got a job in Switzerland, and whenever I came back from Switzerland 1 day per month to my house in Luxembourg, God, I'm finally home again, because Swiss people are so posh. Not every Swiss people is posh, but that's that's the stereotype.
Misconception.
Because they're also very rich people. And my best holidays has been in Australia. Australian people are so down to earth and so laid back. So, for my advice again, travel, see the world. If you get a chance, if you get a job, go to Australia. Fantastic country. Kenya is very much different than Luxembourg, obviously. So first time I came here, it had just been raining 2 weeks, and I went to Mombasa, and there were no streets. Basically, there was no street. We were driving from one pothole to another pothole, and I said, "What have I gotten?
Shots fired."
What have I gotten?" In Luxembourg, you have to understand, the road construction is ripped off everywhere, more or less, every year to fulfill the budget of, we have 20 million to spend, or 200 million, whatever they have to spend every year. So the best streets in the world is in Luxembourg. And coming to Mombasa, I did not see one road that you could drive on.
You must have been traumatized, I can imagine.
And again, you know, tuk-tuks are not the best company. But
shots fired at
other stuff made up for it. But you know, I would not recommend road trips in Kenya if you have never been it before. It's
or just get a good vehicle.
I mean, everything is getting better and better in Kenya, of course. And even I stayed in Roka a few years, and even the road in Roka is now much better, you know, than it was 5 years ago. So I've been coming to Kenya the last 5 years, and I love it here. People are very hospitable, you can say that. They are very full of hospitality. Yeah. And both for men and women. I mean, some men do not like to talk to me anymore because I beat them in pool. But
no, you don't.
We have a decisive game on Friday. But people have been very, very accepting, and I never considered myself white until I got to Kenya, or pink, or whatever you want to call it. But now I consider myself white, and it comes with good and bad issues. But it's nice to stand out. And if I drive on the Boda, they will say, "Hey, Muzungu," and I say "Sasa," and they all like, "Oh," and I like that. I'm not a sucker for being, you know, looked at and recognized, but it's a nice feeling when people say, "Mr. Bo Muzungu." I like that.
You've gotten used to it by now?
Yeah.
Ah, cool.
Tell us a bit, or rather, what would you advise young people, considering we're seeing so many cases of young people just getting into relationships, and you know, it just ends up being very nasty. In your experience, what would you tell them in terms of love and relationships?
Love sucks. No, don't fall in love easily. I fall in love every day, but I see a lot of young women here, 20 years old, 18, 22, on the street with a baby. Yeah. And if I talk to them, which I sometimes do because I talk a lot, boyfriend ran away when they got pregnant. And of course there's temptations, there's desire, there's hormones in the air, but wait until you're ready. I was 40 years old, my ex-wife was 32 years old when we got our first, and we have two. But children at the age of whatever now, teens now, but I have the age, but I don't want to reveal my age. So wait, huh? But there are actually condoms and stuff like that, but if you can't, there's other ways to have sex. Oh wait, I mean, don't get kids too early. Plan your life as good as you can, because life is not easy in Kenya. And getting one job is hard. Getting two jobs if you want to support a kid, wait as long as you can, guys. And if you do, and you get a child, and you are single, probably single mom, you could be a single dad as well, but you're probably a single mom. Don't have any regrets, love your kids, and you know, I have a perfect relationship with my ex-wife. So even though I have not lived so much in Luxembourg since I divorced her, it's still a perfect. We never had an argument. It was just some stuff did not work out, health and whatever. But have a nice relationship with the father of your kid, and wait as long as you can. Plan your career. Wait until you're ready. I hate to see kids having kids.
Yeah.
And I see that every day.
It's happening. We can't turn a blind eye to it. It's happening.
But if it happens, don't have any regrets. Do the best you can. Don't let your kids suffer from arguments, whatever. Split and go on. Was that a bad advice? I don't know.
No, it's great advice.
It's great advice, because most people in the community that we live in, the communities that we are in, most people shy away from having these conversations. You know, telling the young people, if you cannot wait, then use protection. You know, if you have a child, you know, grow up fast before trying to bring someone into this world. And you see, parents are shunning away conversation, so they're leaving it to the teachers. They take the kids to school. They're leaving it to the teachers.
But you do have sexual education in school, I imagine. In Kenya.
There is, but in my opinion, I feel like they're not doing, you know, as much as they should be doing. Otherwise, we would not be having the cases that we see.
Well, you cannot rely on God to make you pregnant or not pregnant. It works in different ways, you know. So don't just pray. Don't just pray.
Pull and pray.
Pull and pray. What did you say? No. But,
okay. What about finances?
I mean, nobody.
Young people, you know, managing finances as a young person, in both cultures.
In Europe, we have a problem because families get 1.1 or 1.3 kids per family, and they say if you drop below 1.5, the culture is not sustainable; it will die. So one of the problems in Europe over 100, 200 years is that the cultures will die. And cultures who get 5, 6, 7 kids will survive. So Europe, of course, has a problem there. But on another note, for the kids, I think it's better to wait and make yourself financially stable. I know it's not easy in Kenya because you have a huge unemployment rate. But, you know, if you can, wait until you can. There are extra costs anywhere in having kids, you know, clothes, schools, insurance for health, medicine when the kids get sick and when you get hospitalized and whatever. Wait until you're financially stable. And I know it's not the case, but that will be my advice anyway. And as I said before, I was 40 and I was at that time, it has since changed, but I was financially stable when we had our first kids. And so was my wife.
So, in the short life that you've lived, so do you have any regrets if you were to go back in time? Do you think that there's things that you'd want to change? Do you think that there are things you'd have done better? Or what's your take on that?
There's probably many things, and I spent when I had a good job and had a lot of money, I spent money on crap or experiences. So if I had known that I would reach hard time as well, which everybody will reach at a certain point in their life, if I had known that, I would have followed my ex-wife's advice, and put away some money for bad times. Would I do something different? Having kids is a life sentence. So the moment it is a life sentence. You're not going physically to jail, but you never lie sleepless at night. You never stop to worry about if they're safe. There are many crimes that could happen to kids in the world, and so you have to realize when you get a kid, it's a life sentence. You never stop to worry. No matter if you see them every day or you see them every third month or whatever, you never stop to worry, and you never stop to love them. So apart from that, whatever you do, guys, as Anthony Hopkins said. Do you have any regrets in life? No. Don't have any regrets. Screw up whatever you want to do, but don't have any regrets. Huh? Make the most out of your life, and you don't get a second chance. You have this life. If you don't believe in heaven or hell like me, you only get this one chance.
You make the most out of it.
In my hard times, I've luckily had good friends who helped me stay above water. And that's another sentence I like, pass it on. If people do good to you, do good to others. You don't need to pay them back necessarily, but pay somebody else back. Do good for people.
Pay it forward.
Pay it forward. That's a good line.
I call it the boomerang effect, because you think you're doing it to them, you're doing it to yourself, because whatever you throw out there will just come back around. And
karma. Be good to people. So if I'm good to people, it's because I'm basically a nice guy. It's not because I go to heaven. If I do something wrong, I don't fear to go to hell. So I do good because I'm actually a nice guy. And all people in life do mistakes and do bad things.
That's what makes us human.
That's
a good one. I'm only human.
Annette, and we are really big on mental health and how it affects us in a big way, especially even here in the 254, with the pressures of life, pressures in finances, pressures in the relationships, in relationships and the love. And so I think I'd throw this to Bo, like, how do you handle like a good mental fortitude, like a more grounded stature, even in between the noise, even in between the pressure, and how do you calm it all down?
So life is not perfect. Life is not perfect, and there's a lot of stress factors in life. One being health, one being money, one being job, one being family, one being kids. So when you get kids, a wife has 100% love to give. Now here comes along this little Daniel, and all of a sudden he takes 90% of that love that you used to give to me. Now the husband says, "Fuck you, Daniel." Sorry, Daniel, but it's a fact. Mom has only 100% love to give. She cannot just create 200% of love. She can't. So that's the main reason for divorces. Now that's the side subject to your question, but that's the main reason, because there's not more love to give to the poor husband. But
so finding the balance.
Finding the balance in that respect, and I think that having kids is a big factor, and money issues. And health. Now, issues for my stress in my married life was basically money and health related, yes. And I don't think that's different in Europe from here. It's the same situation. apart from the fact that Kenya has a struggling economy.
Yeah. What about the healing process? Because after divorce, just healing, getting through it, and you used to being with this person for the longest time. Now you're living life without them. You're restructuring your life. How do you just calm yourself and just accept that fact?
I mean, there's a social aspect, because you can say you divide the friends or you keep the friends, but basically that was not an issue in my case. We both kept the same friends, more or less. And healing, I lost my dad when, how old was it? 2009, I lost him, and you never get over it. It gets better, but you never get over it. I will still say I love my ex-wife. I mean, she's a beautiful woman. So maybe it was the love of my life. Do I ever get over it? I don't know, but it's not something that bothers you every day. Would I ever get back with her? No. She asked me that question for fun, for the fun of it, and I said, no way. Too many words were said, and no.
Yeah.
But she's living a happy life with her new husband, and it's fine. Healing process, love comes and love goes. So you cannot change if people fall in love or people fall out of love. You have to be a little bit, about that. You cannot change life. My wife has a new husband. I hug him every time I see him. We used to be good friends. Now we are still friends, but we're not seeing each other so much anymore. But if I see him, he gets a hug. Life happens.
No.
I forgot your question, Harry.
No. It is well. You answered it well in terms of basically just how to handle love, how to handle the balancing out of the relationship when the children come, the pressures that are around that, and
it's a big stress factor. It is. So I used to cook every day for my ex-family, my 2 kids and my ex-wife, and she had a full-time job at that time. When we got kids, then I had a part-time job, and actually I had 3 part-time jobs, doesn't matter. I cooked every day. I did the laundry. We had a washing machine, not a big deal. I did the laundry, I cooked, I mostly shopped. And dinner was ready when she came home from work. So the biggest issue of me losing the family was actually that I saw my kids every second weekend for 2 days. And I missed the daily interaction. I missed the daily cooking for the family. Do I stand in the kitchen for 1 hour or 2 hours and cook myself a nice meal? No, I don't. I make myself an omelette or whatever. So I missed actually cooking for the family more than, you can see the sex life, but more than anything, I missed the social aspect of the family being there.
I can imagine.
Because that does bring the connections.
Yeah.
The bond is
and feeling that you're doing something for them.
Okay.
And when I compare life here in the 254, or in Africa in general, and vis-a-vis the life in the West, I noticed there's a lot of 50-50 structuring of the relationship roles and the whole marriage setup. When it comes to the 254, of course, and in Africa, a lot of weight is placed on the man to be the head and to take up to provide and be on the driving seat. So in the wake of the evolving state of where we are headed as a global village, what would be your advice for people having now been on both sides of the divide?
I think the advice is hard because it's a different culture, and culture takes a long time to change. And habits takes a long time to change. But in Luxembourg you can hardly exist if there's not 2 incomes. You cannot exist, you cannot pay rent.
50-50.
And because we have equal pay for equal jobs, a woman would earn exactly the same as a man in theory. So maybe there would be a slight difference, but in theory it's the same salary for the same job. I think it's like that in most European countries. And of course it's different here, and culture-wise here you have one provider, and that can be the man or it can be the single mom. Unfortunately. So it's a whole totally different setup, and I don't think it will change in 20 or 50 years. I think.
We have a long.
I think it takes a lot longer than that.
They say that what is the man's is ours, what is the lady's is hers.
Oh, it's different in Europe. It's the other way around. Yeah.
What?
You bring home your salary, and the lady takes over all of it, and so you can have a few bucks to go drinking with your friends, but
your 50 share has to be here.
No, basically you put 50-50 into the household. And advice for any people who are earning money I think I saw that from an American TV host, and he said, I think it was Shaq, the big guy. He said a family should have 3 accounts. one for her and one for him, that nobody looks at, nobody touches.
Yes.
And then one for the family.
Yes.
Of course, that's easy when you're a billionaire, but like him. But it's a good layout, you know. Keep some money aside for hard times, because hard times come.
Yeah.
Yeah, funerals, there are hospitals, bills, there are all this shit. So young guys, don't drink all the money away on beers and playing pool like you.
No, I don't. So exactly, now that you mentioned pool, so that young person, that young lady, that young gentleman out there, of course, you know, all work and no play will make Jack a dull boy, and all play and no work will make Jack a mere toy. But at the end of the day, we need to find that balance, that Jack is centered in terms of the work and the play. So how do you find a healthy work-life balance?
In Europe, it's again, Luxembourg was privileged because most jobs had 35 hours working week. So we don't work 12 hours per day as you do here in Kenya. So I can understand why the guy driving an Uber leaves the house at 6 o'clock and comes home at 9 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah.
I can understand why he expects dinner to be ready and all that. And I can also expect, if he's too tired, to be romantic or even just care, even just hold a hand. Life is not easy in Kenya. And I think we are years ahead, of course, in Europe. And that does not mean that jobs cannot be hard in Europe. But as a general rule, I think you guys work much harder for very little. For very little. And
so it becomes harder to find the balance.
I think it's not easy here. I can see why people are splitting up very easily in Kenya. I mean, you are a very believing country, and you married for your God and whatever. In Luxembourg, we mainly marry to secure the guy's right towards the kids and stuff like that. We don't marry for God. We are 60% atheist. So it's not a religious thing in Europe anymore to marry. It's a practical thing, legal thing. Mostly to secure the man's right towards the kids.
Okay.
And I think the divorce rate in Europe is anywhere between 50 and 60%. And that has changed and increased over the years as women got more independent and earned their own salary. In the 50s, 60s, they were also reliable on 1950s, 60s. They were also reliable on the man's income. But when the industrialization came in the 60s and 70s, you know, they got their own salary, and you're not treating me right, I'm out of here. So.
Does that make you feel like it's more of a contract than a binding bond that should hold these people together?
Yes, because I think the religion is a big issue here, because we don't have that reserve or that thing to look at, you know. We marry because we love each other, and because we secure the kids has a married couple as parents, and the daddy has some rights, and the lady has the same rights. Being a mom, she has probably a little higher rights, but you know, most mamas would probably win the right to raise the kid anyway, unless he has no money and the guy has a salary. Then there's a debate on that, of course. But I think the chances for a man is much better in Europe to secure his rights.
Well,
so people are free to walk away based on, is this working for me? If it's not working for me, I will step.
And I think the divorce rate has shown that very clearly in Europe. And it's a form of liberation for the women, of course, which was a good thing. So. That's the case. It's different here, because if you divorce as a woman, I guess the woman, if she can't afford to live in Nairobi, she would go back to the village and stay with her family or whatever. I could imagine. I don't know if I'm wrong.
No, and also the laws. I think the laws play a very big role, because in terms of providing for the kids, you know, I think, you know, you can divorce here and the man can decide, you know what, I'll just give whatever it is that I'm going to give, you see. But for, you know, countries where the laws are very clear on that, you give a certain percentage of your income towards the kids. So it becomes easier for the woman to actually say, this is not working for me, I will go, and the father will still provide a certain amount for the kids.
In Europe, when we divorced, we got some money out of house sale, the house we lived in, and we split that up 50-50, whatever. And there was then the child money, but my wife was very clever. She knew I was going to mess around with my life, so she could actually pay the whole thing up front.
Okay.
So I could pay until they're 18. I could pay that up front. So she had no more worries. Money has been paid. I had no more worries. Money's been paid.
Yeah.
So she was very clever in that respect.
No.
And yeah.
Like here in Kenya, what we do, I think to try and cement that whole bond thing, is that our culture has been structured in such a way that I like this girl, I go meet their family, my family, our families get to know each other. Based on the culture that she's actually from, the particular tribe, for example, there's a dowry, and the man is given what the girl is sold at in the particular culture, and they say that dowry never ends, but at least there's that concerted effort where they remove something, and it's usually continual until kingdom come, and then the two now that feels like a foundation laying, or something at least that will make them have a relook whenever they're thinking about a breakup. And of course that now will be coupled with the marriage ceremony, and now the two will live together. Not to say that they'll not divorce, but at least there's that more fomenting of the particular marriage. Of course, when you go to the east, it will be about it's the woman paying dowry for the man.
I was just about to raise that question, because in Europe, European women would say, but why is there a dowry on my head and not on Peter's head? You know, why am I not paying a dowry for him? I don't get that. They would say, and I don't get it either, but you know, it's culture, I understand it. But it would be unthinkable of in Europe, of course, to pay a dowry for somebody. Unthinkable of.
Do you think it's something that you all would ever consider in terms of trying to foment?
Kids, I mean, I say kids, maybe they're 20, 25 years old, but kids these days will never even ask, you know, the parents for hand-in-law, you know. They would just marry. Say, we're going to get married next month, you're invited to the party. There's no asking mom and dad, can I marry him, or there's no arranged marriage. Of course there are now, because we have different cultural influences coming to Europe. But as a European culture, the last 100 years, maybe the last 50 years only, but has not been like that. At least since the 80s and 90s, nobody asked for anybody's hands anymore. They just inform their dad, you know, mom, we're going to get married. We want a party, can you contribute? If not, we pay it ourselves. We like to have 50 guests. We like to marry there. Blah, blah, blah. You know, there's not asking anybody's hand anymore.
You know, even us, it's been an evolution before it got to this particular state. Like in the African traditional Kikuyu setup, the father of the boy would pay dowry for the son for his first wife. And now, moving forward, for any other wives that the son would want to have as his territories kept growing, now the second and the third and the fourth, so the man would pay the dowry for himself, such that it almost became like the first wife was undivorceable, because, you know, I got that one for you, so you can't really divorce unless it's really gross. The second one, the third one, it's up to you, but the first one is undivorceable.
Who warns these men that, you know, if you get a second wife, you also get a second mother-in-law, and you get a third mother-in-law and a fourth mother-in-law.
The family grows.
I have good experience in that respect, so it's just a joke. But, you know, the family grows easily, huh? Is it still allowed to have 3-4 kids in?
Of course, religion. Christianity was never used to have a lot of permeation into the culture. Now a lot of Christianity has gone into our ways of life, and it's one man, one wife, and of course the government has since allowed for polygamy, guided of course by the culture of where we're coming from, but of course more or less right now it's one man, one wife, at least on paper.
There are different terms for that, I think.
But I think that's one of the things that makes it very hard for families or marriages to separate here, because so many people are involved in the whole union. You know, you had to ask your mom, your dad, your aunties, and everyone. So many people are involved in the coming together of this union that it becomes harder to just, you know,
to change the situation. But I think that family, religion for one, and family, you ask me all the time, what is the difference between Kenya and Europe, where I come from? Families are so tight here. I mean, so tight. I have not spoken to my sister in a year or 2 or 3, and my parents are dead now, of course, but that's my family. It's all I have. So, of course, I have my sons, and I have my sister's nieces and all the children, but family is not very big.
Yeah.
Marriages are 30, 40 people. Of course, you can have 100, 200 people, but not necessarily. My wedding was 30 people. And, yeah.
Oh, so anyway, we'll take this to
The next level?
the next episode, because we have a lot to unpack.
Okay, wow.
And so yeah, let's get to part 2.
Let's do part 2.
Yeah.